Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter. And to my far right, I got my co-host, Kevin Johnson, KJ. And in the middle, today's special guest, we got a former Gamecock and six-time NCAA national champion. This guy right here has done it all. He's from Atlanta, Georgia, Southwest DeKalb High School. And he's also a two-time silver medalist Olympic in the Summer Games 2000 and 2004. This guy has over 14 gold medals, 8 silver, and 2 bronze. And he just got inducted into the 2021 National Track and Field Hall of Fame. We'd like to welcome former Gamecock Terrence Trammell. What's going on, Big Trammell?
Hey, what's going on, man? What's going on?
What's up, fellas? Hey, man, I'm glad to be here, Thank you for having me on and looking forward to having some fun tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So for the people that don't know you, Terrence, let them know where you're from and a little bit about your background.
Okay, so I'm from Decatur, Georgia. It's the east side of Atlanta. And went to school at Southwest DeKalb High School. For everybody that knows that school from the era that I went, we call it the University of Southwest DeKalb. We had some really big things going on at the time, and it was a great era for our high school. And so, I had a lot of fun there. I played football and ran track, and had a lot of success in both, and was fortunate enough to have won state championships in football and track. So, really big part of my high school career was, being athletic and contributing to the tradition that is Southwest DeKalb. And so, anyway, that's where I come from. That's my high school, and gained my degree from the University of South Carolina, along with a lot of track and field exposure and experience. And so, that's pretty much it. I'm currently coaching and consulting and working on an app that I have, to kind of spread this knowledge and help other people get fast and get exposure and, had an opportunity to reach the next level of their success.
Okay.
All right. At what age you start running track? Oh, I'm sorry. At what age you start playing sports, and what sport was your first love?
I started playing sports at, I want to say 6. It was T-ball.
T-ball,
okay. I went out. One of my friends who was a little bit older than I was playing baseball, and I think I was in the first grade at the time, and told my dad I wanted to try T-ball, so he signed me up, and that was it. But my first love has been and will always be football. That was, that was always my first love. That was the biggest bond that I had with my dad and my brother as well. I grew up watching my brother play youth league sports. I mean, as early as I could remember. My brother's 9 years older than I am, so we're talking like me being 3 years old, watching him run down the field. So I've always loved football, but I played football, from the age of, I want to say 9 all the way through high school, and didn't even start track until the 8th grade. I actually played football, basketball, and baseball growing up. And with baseball, I couldn't hit the ball unless it was on the tee. So it was no need for me to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Basketball, I was really good. My favorite athlete, my favorite basketball player was Magic Johnson. I mean, when you watch him come down the court on a fast break, you don't know who's going to get the ball. You know what I mean? And it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful to watch him play.
Little passes.
Yeah. So I tried to do the same, and it worked out a little bit for me, but I didn't get past the 8th grade as far as like basketball is concerned. So
All right.
Okay. So you say your football was your first love, and that was the sport that you played. Had a lot of bondage with your pops. What position did you play when you played football?
So when I was younger, I think my very first year playing football, I played nose guard. Um,
Yeah.
but at that time we were going by weight division, so everybody
Yeah.
was relatively the same size.
Yeah.
But I think playing nose guard really made me tenacious, as a player. But after that, I was always, running back, cornerback, or safety, or something like that. And so, when I got that first tall sweep and took it to the house, I was hooked.
Go, baby. Go.
Yeah. I
It
had to
felt
I had to
good.
play offense after that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So talk about your coaches during that time, man. Like I know a lot of coaches back then were innocent. They want you to have fun, just learn the basics of the game. Let's talk about that a little bit and some of the teammates that you played with during that time.
So in youth league, during that time, we had older coaches, 30s, 40s, and they coached us hard. They definitely coached us hard, but they taught us how to be responsible. They taught us how to be accountable to your teammates and play for more than just yourself. And I think me being able to be in that era of youth league sports really helped develop me, not just as an athlete, but as a person, because those guys really cared. And they gave us a lot of tools that, had we paid attention, um, we could find value in those in all courses of life. But they taught us the basics, but they taught us to really take pride in ourselves and taught us how to uh, not let anybody, not to be intimidated, basically. They taught us that a lot. And I had I had some success in football. Never won a championship in youth league football, but we went to the playoffs and to the semifinals a couple of times. But in basketball, youth basketball, we won several championships.
Oh, okay.
So that was cool. I got my championship taste early in life with
Yeah.
that. So had a chance to play with some really good guys that went on and played high school football and basketball. And one of my good friends, um, rest in peace, Lyle Weaver. He was a linebacker for Army, and so he was a really good guy, good spirit. He was a man's man, and a really good friend. If you had him as a friend, if he was your friend, you had one. So
Okay. Cool. Cool.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I know you said you ran track in the 8th grade. So what made you fall in love with track?
So here's the deal, right? So plugging in basketball to track,
Okay.
I actually made the middle school team in basketball, right? And
All right.
so that was a big accomplishment for me, but I didn't play that much. And so, I thought I was better than what the coach saw. And
Yeah.
so I felt some kind of way. So I heard that he was the track coach at the high school. So back then, middle school didn't have its own track. You went to the high school and ran track for the high school.
Right.
And so I heard that my basketball coach was the track coach at the high school. So that's what I wanted to do. I basically ran track to prove somebody wrong.
Dang.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so we go up for the tryouts, and it turns out he was the girls coach. So my intention was to show him that I'm a whole lot better than what you think, and he's the girls coach. So there you have it. But the blessing in that was my high school coach, Napoleon Cobb, is a legendary coach in his own right. I think he has, between the two high schools, he was at Gordon High School, which is now McNair Middle here in DeKalb County. I think he won one or two state championships there. And at Southwest DeKalb, I think he had a combined 12 between the girls and the boys.
Okay.
And prior to that, he was out in California at Cal Berkeley. He did a lot of his his grad assistant coaching at Cal Berkeley with Bud Winters. Well, who is Bud Winters? He was the coach of John Carlos and Tommy Smith. And so, anyway, he learned a lot from being around Coach Winters, and he attended school at Tennessee State, which, his coach was the great Ed Temple, who was the coach of the Tiger Bells, Wilmer Rudolph, Wyoming Atayas.
All right.
Those people. So his background was immense, and of course, me coming over, 14 years old in 8th grade, I don't know this stuff. I mean, I want to run track, but I think that was the best thing that could have happened to me. Was for me to get under Coach Cobb. He was a hard coach. I mean, he was a hard coach, but he was fair. And I think running track for Coach Cobb and playing football for Buck Godfrey molded me into the caliber athlete that I had become. Make no excuses, take no prisoners, always expecting to win was the mentality. And so that carried me a long, long way. And had the opportunity to watch, some major guys in the city of Atlanta at the time, like Milton Campbell, who was a major 400-meter runner out of Douglas High School in Atlanta. And had a couple of other guys, that was really good. We had some really good guys at my high school. Jermaine Stringer was a speed demon who played football at Florida State. He was a state champ in 100 meters, and he was a 10-2, 10-1 high guy in high school.
Dang.
So he was a blazer, and so I grew up around that type of stuff. So the bar was set high for somebody like me coming along at the time that I came along. And the one thing is, you being in that era, you didn't want to be known as the graduating class that was like sorry because you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. So
that's right.
It was a little bit of pressure there, but at the same time, like it like I say to my athletes, it separated the champ from the chumps, So that's what we did. That's how it served us.
All right. So you got your respect in 8th grade with your track coach. You showed them that you had the blazing wheels. You go into 9th grade. You playing both football and track at the time, correct?
Yeah. Football
so
and
what
track.
Position did they put you in football? Talk about that a little bit, and your teammates and the coach that you had at that time.
So at that point in time, we ran the wing T, so I played a little bit of wing back and some cornerback at the time in the 9th grade. And so I did fairly decent. I mean, at that time we had so much talent. I was kind of like I started a couple of games on JV in the 9th grade. I was primarily a backup at the time.
Okay.
We had some guys, man, that could just catch on really fast. And I was somewhat of a late bloomer. So I didn't really hit like a growth spurt till like the 10th grade. But at that point, I did pretty well in football. Nothing to really write home about. I was really just kind of getting the lay of the land, getting used to the new environment, and just trying to find my way for the most part. And in track, I was primarily like a utility guy. I mean, I was fast, but I wasn't quite track fast at the time. So I would probably be like on the second team 4x1 and second team 4x4. And this was before I started hurdling. I was running like the 100 and the 200. And just kind of.
Which leg were you running at that time?
I think at that time I might have been I might have been third leg on relay, second team relay.
Okay.
Yeah, third leg.
Okay.
And so, um, again, just really finding my way, not necessarily making a major impact. And then we went to a meet, a junior varsity meet in Brookwood, and I had done my little relay duty or whatnot. And so I'm up in the stands basically the rest of the night with my teammates, and we were watching the hurdles go off. And our guy was really good at the time, Marquez Benton. He was our JV, our first JV hurdler, and so he was good. He had pretty good form, and he was winning meets. And the other JV guys, they looked bad. I mean, it was chaos all over the place, and so um, I would see guys fall and get scraped up and that whole thing. And back then we run on asphalt, so you fail, you took one.
Yeah, you gonna get that.
And so
City.
So that very night, I told one of my teammates, I was like, man, I don't see how they hurdle, man. You never catch me doing nothing like that. And the very next day in class, because I think that was like on a Wednesday night we had that meet. The very next day in class, actually before class started, Coach Cobb pulled me aside before I went to my first period class, and he had a talk with me, a long talk, because he could talk. He could really talk. And so when he pulled me out, I knew I was going to miss first period,
second period,
and probably the first part of third period, which I didn't mind that at all.
Break from class.
Nobody was going to give us any problems because I was with Coach Cobb. And I mean, Coach Cobb, basically, he and Coach Godfrey, they ran the school, so you're not going to say anything. And he told me he wanted me to be his next hurdler. And so I was like, man, come on, Coach. Now you saw what just went on last night, and so he told me he was going to model me after Ronaldo Nehemiah. He wanted me to model my style after his.
Okay.
Right. And so for people that don't know Ronaldo Nehemiah, he's the first person to ever run under 13 seconds in the hurdles. He had the world record as a freshman in college. And I think he broke it like 2 or 3 more times while he was in college. He actually made the 1980 Olympic team, but they boycotted. And so he went to the NFL and won him a Super Bowl ring with the San Francisco 49ers. So, and I saw him this past weekend at my induction, and it was really good to see him. And, we keep in touch via Facebook. So, yeah, that felt good, to have him there. But anyway, so that evening was my journey as a hurdler. I was, I just learned the very basics of what it was to hurdle. And so, one of the assistant coaches, Coach Baugh, took me over and had me learn how to learn the rhythm of coming off the hurdle, what it should sound like when I come off the hurdle. Right. And so we started working technique every day for 30 days. I mean, that's all I did was hurdle work and my conditioning runs. And so I was the last one off the track. I was the last one in the weight room, last one out of the weight room. I would literally leave at 7:30, some days, maybe even 8:00, after the weight room. And my dad was there every day. He was supportive. He appreciated them coaching me hard, because he wanted me to be tough. He wanted me to have character and some fight. And so that's what we did. And my very first track meet, my very first hurdle meet was a middle school meet. It was a JV. I mean, it was a junior high meet. And, 8th and 9th grade was still considered junior high at that time. So I went and I broke the record. I broke the meet record like my very first run. It wasn't fast, but it was the record nonetheless. And I did real good to the first 3 hurdles, and then I stuttered step for like 2 or 3 hurdles. Then I picked it back up and got back to 3 steps, the rest of the way. And yeah, broke the record. And that became the significance and the foundation that my career was built on. And just kept going from there. So at that point, I was happy to have the hurdles because I felt like this was something that I could own. My contribution to the team, was being able to hurdle, have these hurdles. And so that's what I did. And I was really excited about having something to claim as my own and be able to have my part to play in the team's success.
Yeah, hey, talk about the competition in the Metro Atlanta, and as far as track.
So we had a few schools that was good at the time. Early on, I would say like my 9th grade year, the teams that were good on varsity at that time, because I actually had my 9th grade year. I won the county championship on JV, and actually my coach pulled me up to run varsity. And so I got a chance to run at the region championship, and I got 3rd, but they only take the top 2 to state. So, and that was the only time I had lost. And so it was heartbreaking, not because I lost, but because I didn't make it to the next meet, to the next round. So my season was over. The schools at the time that was running good, I mean, the better schools, the really good schools in the Metro Atlanta area at that time was like Tri-Cities, Douglas High School. You had some guys that were pretty good from Mays and other schools like Columbia and Tucker. Tucker had a good track team. They were in a different class than we were in. Tucker and Columbia, they had good track teams. And Lithonia. They were all, I think at the time, they were in triple A, and we were in quad A at the time. So we would see those guys at like the county championships, but that would really be about it. The county championships and a couple of the other meets, prior to like some of the big invitationals. But there were some good teams throughout the state, but the headliners in quad A at the time, of course, was Southwest DeKalb, and then you had Douglas High School, and then you had Mays. And I think at one point Noonan was pretty good.
Okay, Noonan, Georgia. All right.
They had Derek Stiegel and Corey Bridges. And so
Corey Bridges.
Yeah, and Corey's like the big bruh at Carolina. It's my first roommate. He took me in, took me under his wing, and I got the lay of the land of Columbia at that time. So shout out to him for sure.
Yeah,
and so yeah. In 10th grade now, I'm really starting to come into my own. Like I said, I hit that growth spurt, so I was about 6 feet at the time. So I grew maybe about 2 or 3 inches, at that time, and so every year I would gain like another inch or 2 and like another 10, 15 pounds in weight. So it was a good growth spurt, a steady one, from the 10th through the 12th grade when I got it, and so yeah, that's kind of how things went at that time. And then so I got a chance to play just a little bit of varsity football at the time. I mean, that team, my 10th grade year, was full of superstars at the time. Quincy, of course, was the quarterback, Quincy Carter, and we had Arvin Richard, who was the tailback, and we had Jermaine Stringer and 2 guys that have since passed away in Felix Lewinsky and Marco Shepard. I mean, that like the receiver corps. So that year, we went from running the wing T to running the wing T and the spread offense. So that was our mixture. Um, and the crazy thing is, like, the receiving corps was like the relay team. So, what you gonna do? You know what I mean?
Smoking them, boy.
Yeah. So I got a chance to play in a couple of games on offense, when it was cleanup duty and that whole thing. And the game was well in hand. So we was giving some of the young guys some experience, and I remember running a 34 lead, and the hole was closed, and I bounced it to the outside, and I took it like 30 yards. I got excited and tried to truck the safety, and that didn't work out. Yeah, I got a little too excited, but hey, that was a big run, and that got my confidence up for playing varsity football. And 10th grade year, in track, now I'm running JV and a little bit of varsity, and I'm having a lot of success. At that point in time, I was running around 14.2, 14.3 in the hurdles, and that was one of the top times in the state. And had a track meet that really grew me up as an athlete, because up until this point, I really hadn't had much adversity as a hurdler. Went down to the Carrollton Relays and went against TJ Nelson from Troup County. And I didn't know who the guy was. I'm doing my thing. I'm having my confidence in what I'm doing. And this dude comes out, man, and he's just as fast as I am over the first few hurdles, but then he hit another gear like at number 4 or 5, and that was a gear I didn't have. And so I'm trying to run him down, and it's not happening. And he wound up, as we say in track, he took me where I hadn't been before. So I crashed. I crashed, and when I look up, he's still moving. And this kid ran 13.8 on me. And that was the top time in the country at that point in time.
Yes,
and
sir.
So, he welcomed me onto the big leagues. And so I had some decisions to make, My first decision was how I was going to take the shower with my skin being peeled off on the track, So I learned to run my race. I learned to run within myself. So later on that season, I went through everything else. TJ Nelson was the only guy that beat me in high school as far as the hurdles are concerned. He's the only person that beat me in high school. So we get to the state meet. So I qualified. I won the region championship that year, and get to the state meet. And our top guy, Jermaine Stringer, was injured. So they put me on ankle leg of the 4x1, and we finished second. I just wasn't quite as strong as those guys at the time. I held my own. Clearly, if Stringer was healthy, it wouldn't have been close. But I did what I could. I contributed, and I got second in the 110 hurdles. I learned that if TJ is gone, TJ is gone. Like, that's just what it is. I held my composure, and the race was a little bit closer. Racing him, but I realized that at that point in time, he was the better guy. He was stronger, a little more mature, and he had it. He had it. That was a guy that made me feel like I had to be perfect in order to win, and so he pushed me. He did. Like, in practice, I would feed off of knowing that I'm gonna have to see him at some point, so I need to be ready. And so my 11th grade year, now I'm a starter in football. And so I started at receiver at the beginning of the year. And so I'm excited because now I get to be a part of the tradition that I grew up watching since I was like 9 years old. because again, my brother's so much older than me. And so I grew up around Southwest DeKalb football. I was like the water boy, and that whole thing. So this was me living out a dream, being able to play football.
That's right.
And
First love. Mm-hmm.
and so I was excited about that. Not only that, but I actually was able to wear single digit, my 11th grade year. And
All right.
Okay.
and back then, those single digits were real important if you playing football at the time, So
Yeah.
uh, so so yeah, um, started out at receiver, did fairly well. I mean, I did contribute. Um, had a couple of big plays on offense. And then about halfway through the season, they switched me over to safety because although I was a target,
Okay.
I was like the third. I was like the third target or so. I mean, we had some guys. I mean, we really had a lot of talent spread it around, and so we would average like 40 something points a game, but we give up like 28.
Okay.
And some certain games were too close for comfort, and so the DB coach said that with the speed that I had, he knew that I could really be a major factor in that secondary, and I did I did play corner. That was I started at wing back and went to corner on JV, and I stayed on defense. I think the remainder of the season, and so going back to play defensive back wasn't a major adjustment. It took me a while just to get used to playing safety, because I'm in the middle of the field now.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you now, we're talking about 95, 96. So we were the only team doing the spread offense and that whole thing. The only
Wasn't that
team that
familiar?
I knew at the time that was kind of doing kind of like the spread read option type was Valdosta.
Yep.
And we took them all the way down, I want to say, to about 10 seconds left in the game, and they beat us on the last second field goal. Which that was my 10th grade year, which was the year that we thought, would have been the first year of us winning the state championship. But at safety, I always knew at some point in time, somebody's going to be tired, somebody's going to slip, and I'm going to get me a pick. And that's basically what I did. I mean, that was my thing. And so all throughout the season, I came up and I made tackles. I was really a cut them low, at the thigh type guy,
Make sure you get
but
them
I
down.
was right. I was big on interceptions. I wanted to be a ball hawk, and then
Like Dion.
right, that was my whole thing, And so we finished the regular season 9-1. We lost to Douglas in the in the regular season, and they had guys like Jamal Lewis and Terrence Barlow, and their defense had guys. Yeah. I mean, they had some serious bangers, and they had Darian Hutchinson on defense, and just some all around. They had some real talent. I mean, that was a squad, and they showed up that night, and they were ready to play. And they were ready to play more than we were. And the score indicated that, So that was the only loss that we had that season. And we went on the road. We played at home, first round of the playoffs. Then we went on the road to some places that customarily, is hard to win in. We went to play, we went to McEachern, to play up there at the time, and we got out of that one by a touchdown, and then we went up to Clark Central in Athens, and we had only beaten them once out of all the years that we played them. We only beat them once, but we were so dialed in that they had a smoke machine what they came out in, and really just poured it on from the entrance and that whole thing, and we had them 14-0 before the smoke cleared,
Yeah.
So we were dialed in, and so I had the interception in the last 3 games of the season. So one at Clark Central, one in the Georgia Dome against Warner Robins, who was they were ranked number 1 in the state at the time, because we were number 1 until we lost. And they were ranked number 1 in the state, number 4 in the nation, I want to say. And we beat them 7-0 in the semifinals, and then played Parkview for the state title. And
Gwinnett County.
what should have been an away game was actually a home game, because it was at the stadium that we played in all year, our home stadium. So we took the home side. I don't know if they knew that or not, but I mean, hey, it was at Memorial Stadium. It's not where you play. So,
Yep. So talk about your recruiting process. Did you play any All-Star games or any Junior Olympics while you were in high school?
So, to go to my track season, I actually, so I got thumped by TJ again at the Carrollton Relays again. This time he ran 13.5, and I ran 13.8. And that was the top time in the country at the time. And then I think he might have gotten injured. But in between that time, I had gone from 13.8 to 13.6 down to 13.3. So had he been healthy at the state meet, I think that would have been one heck of a matchup.
Yep.
We didn't get the opportunity for that to happen, because he was a year older than I was, and so didn't get to do that. But the recruiting process, believe it or not, I had a lot more letters and stuff in football than I did in track.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Where
were you getting your letters from?
Everywhere.
More track or football?
Yeah, it was more football, but it was everywhere. I mean, at the time, Nebraska was back-to-back national champions.
Yeah, Tommy Frazier.
So I would have those red envelopes with the big white N on it, and I got several from Clemson, from Florida, Texas, Michigan State. I even got some from UCLA and Southern Cal.
Wow.
I got a lot from Texas, a lot from Florida. Alabama had some, and got some from Auburn. So all the major schools that you see on TV at the time, they were really shopping.
You guys were ranked pretty high in high school during that time, though, in the nation, right?
Yeah, we were.
I think y'all were in the top 20, if I'm not mistaken.
We topped out a few times at number 3.
See.
So I
had exposure.
Yeah, we did.
Exposure was coming in.
We had a lot of exposure. And my senior year in high school, we were actually number 4, and we played Douglas, who was ranked number 9. And so we're talking about the best school from the east side of Atlanta and the best school from the west side of Atlanta going head to head in a rematch from the game that they beat us the year before. And it was standing room only. I don't know. Outside of the state championship game, my 11th grade year, and maybe the Valdosta game, my 10th grade year, that had to be the biggest game that we played in. It was the USA Today National Game of the Week, and so it was a great game. We got our revenge in that one.
What's up?
But it made the rivalry great. It made both schools great, and I appreciate it, because I even though we couldn't stand each other's guts back then, but I have a lot of friends from I have some really good friends from Douglas, and we wound up going to school together at South Carolina, and just kind of following each other's path along the way.
Yeah. What made you choose USC Gamecocks? What made you go there?
So it took a long time for me to decide whether or not I wanted to go in football or go in track, because I actually wanted to do both. I didn't have my mind made up as to what I want to do. And believe it or not, and I tell people this all the time, and people are just shocked when I tell them this. At the time, I wanted to go to Southern University in Baton Rouge. That's where I wanted to go. They had a really good football team at the time, and being at the 10 relays, they got some exposure. And so I felt like, okay, I could, go there and do well in football and track. That's what I wanted to do. I had no problems with going to an HBCU at all. But I never got correspondence from Southern. I never did. And so, I don't know, maybe they thought I was a little, too high profile and wouldn't have chosen the school because, certain athletes, especially at that time, they were going major D1 colleges, but I felt like I could still go to the pros or whatever the case may be from a school like Southern University, because there were guys in the NFL, from Southern and Grambling and Tennessee State.
Televised games too. Yep.
Right. So I felt like, okay, well, they getting exposure also, so it's no problem. But why I chose South Carolina? One, Curtis Fry was the head coach at South Carolina, who was the coach of Allen Johnson, who was the world champion and Olympic champion at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
And so my brother and I actually attended the finals of the Olympic Games in '96. I saw Michael Johnson in those golden shoes when he ran the 400 meters, and I saw Carl Lewis win the long jump. He won his 9th Olympic gold medal, and then I saw Allen Johnson win the hurdles that night, and I told my brother, in 4 years, man, that's where I want to be. And so I had the chance to be recruited by Coach Fry, and I still didn't know, where I wanted to, what I wanted to do, whether it be football or track. I knew track was going to be involved. I didn't know if I wanted to do both or just let football go for a while and run track. But I have family from the Aiken, North Augusta area and Augusta. So, it's 45 minutes, an hour away from Columbia. And that was also part of the decision. I wouldn't be too far from family. That area, the central Savannah River area is like my second home. I grew up going down there for the summers and for my holidays. So, I wasn't too far from there. So I chose the University of South Carolina because I knew I had the opportunity to train with the best in the world. And when you have that opportunity, you go into it, full-fledged. You don't waste their time and you don't waste your time. So that's why I chose to attend there.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and go into this clip real quick. I got some highlights for you. For everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Spotify, and Deezer. We have a 6-time NCAA track and field champion and two-time Olympic silver medalist and Hall of Fame track guy, Terrence. Trammell. So let's go ahead and get into this clip real quick. We appreciate you guys watching.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Barshall, along with Larry Rawson and Lewis Johnson. Let's get right to it with the men's 60-meter hurdles. The American mark held by Greg Foster. The meet record shared by Courtney Hawkins and Tony Dees. A look at the lineup. We'll be watching lanes 3, 4, and 5. Traditionally, that's where the top athletes are put, particularly lane 6. Teenage sensation Terrence Trammell from Georgia.
Don't discount either. A man who was 8th in the world last year. There's Terry Reese. He had a superb season. And next to him, that is Eugene Swift, now 33 years of age and a 1996 Olympian. There is Trammell in lane 6.
Good start. And the first man to the first hurdle is Trammell, just 19 years of age, a freshman at South Carolina. Here comes Reese. And on the outside, Jeff York in the blue uniform was right there as well.
A huge surprise, I think. Collegiate freshman Terrence Trammell, who was last year a great athlete, named the 1997 Track and Field High School Male Athlete of the Year under Coach Curtis Fry, who coaches that woman, Melissa Morrison, America's outstanding hurdler, and also the Olympic champion down there, Alan Johnson, at the hurdles. This man just explodes out of the block. Now keep in mind, he is in lane 3 in black. Next to him on his left, our right, that is Eugene Swift, and one of the 3 1996 Olympians in the hurdles, and he smokes them here. Wow, 33 years of age, Eugene Swift out there, but he's facing a 19-year-old out of college, and what a difference here. A great performance by Trammell.
Let's meet him now and meet the third member of our track and field broadcast team. Here's Lewis Johnson.
Terrence, the key for you seems to be an incredible start. Talk about what you've been learning, training with Melissa and Alan and Curtis down there in South Carolina.
Well, seeing right now how I'm kind of inexperienced at 42-inch hurdles, I really have to take real good care of my start, making sure that I come out low and hard, driving, taking care of the first 3 hurdles, and that's really like the key.
You seem to be a cut above many others. What's your goal as you look at the hurdles?
I would like to win NCs 4 years in a row if I could. I would also like to be a finalist in the Olympics in 2000, hopefully get a world record.
Well, I think if you stay with that crew, you'll make it there. Congratulations. Great job tonight.
Thank you.
Lofty goals from a great young talent. Terrence Trammell, a new meet record. I have a feeling we're going to be saying a lot of that tonight. 7:64 over Jeff York and Eugene Swift.
Yes, sir. Bring back some memories. Terrence Trammell, he had the naked face back then. Baby face.
Man, yeah.
Baby face assassin. Just jumping over hurdles over grown men. It's killing them.
Oh, yeah,
So,
man.
yeah, man. So you had your whole technique down. You could tell the coaches implemented the program into you, and you use it at your advantage. Just ahead of the pack, a freshman. So you got 3 years ahead of you. We got more clips to show. Just talk about that meet right there before we go into the next clip.
So that meet in itself, that was my very first time being on a grand stage, for my young career. Knowing that I was going against guys that I would watch on television was beyond me at that point. But I knew that the one strength that I had was my start. So I'm going in thinking, okay, well, let's just see where it goes. I don't know what to expect. I do know that these guys are world championship finalists and Olympic finalists, but let's just see where I stand with them. I wasn't afraid. I just didn't know where I matched up with them. And so my thing was just get out of the blocks like I know I can. Yeah. And if nothing else, just make sure I hold my own, just keep it respectable. So that's what I was thinking. I had a lot of confidence in my ability in what we were doing because I knew that these guys were veterans. And even though it was early in the season for them, collegiate guys, they try to take advantage of that type of situation. The only down part was because I was a collegiate at the time, I couldn't take the prize money. But, I gained experience, so that was the cool thing about it.
So just imagine if you were running track right now in college with the new NIL deals.
Oh man, based on how my career went at South Carolina,
you see what I'm saying?
I would wager to think that I would have been close to $1 million.
You had to be. You were
because
SEC champion 6 times.
Right.
Had to
so I mean, it was, and to kind of put that in perspective. So at the time, I ran the 100-yard dash at a meet, not the 100 meters, but the 100-yard dash. And I almost broke the world record in the 100-yard dash. The record at the time was 9:21. and I ran 9:22. I think this was my sophomore or junior year, and they made a huge deal about it in the media and that sort of thing, and so they wanted everybody to come out. And man, I saw all kind of NASCAR flags and stuff up in the stands. I mean, people who wouldn't bother coming to a track meet, it was packed just to see me run for 9 seconds.
Yeah.
And
while we speaking on time, what was your 40 time in football?
when I played football, my 40 time was about 4:16.
Whoa.
Afterwards, when I was strictly track, I was like 4:06. So yeah, I did that. As a matter of fact, the last time I ran the 40, I was 34 years old, and I ran 4:15 and 4:17.
That's like what, 12 years ago.
What you running now? 4.2?
He's still running 4 flats, man.
You 4.2 now?
Man,
KJ,
you know what?
Can you hold Terrence?
I think if I can train for about 6 to 8 weeks and know that my body is good to go,
yeah,
I could probably go maybe high 4.3, low 4.4. Right now, and I just turned 43 like 2 weeks ago.
Know. Hey, happy belated! My birthday's on the 21st.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Happy
belated.
Like almost a year and 2 days apart.
Yeah,
but yeah, man. I love to see that matchup between you and KJ on the line, man. See who get the best of it.
He'll blow me out, man.
Man. I got to get in shape for.
I ain't got a chance. I'm a head start, man.
Oh, but we got another clip right here, man. This is 1999.
Let me ask one more question, man. Hey, so which one you like, man? You like indoor or outdoor? As far as when you.
That's a good question.
I like indoor because
it's a difference. I like to know if there's a difference,
Well, the difference is, one, the distances are shorter indoors than they are outdoors, and you don't have to deal with the elements indoors. So I knew whenever I go to an indoor meet, I'm not going to have to deal with the wind in my face. I'm not going to have to deal with it being too hot, too cold, raining, or anything like that.
Okay.
I like outdoors. So on the pro circuit, once I reached the professional ranks, I guess you could say I had more success indoors just because my gold medals came from indoors. But I've always enjoyed outdoors because that was always kind of like prime time of the season, and outdoors is a lot longer than the indoor season. But I still don't scoff at indoors because I'm a 2-time world champion, indoors. So, so yeah, that was basically, so I had a lot of success indoors, but I really did like outdoors.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, I think this next clip might be an outdoor. I can't remember. It's 1999. It's you at the Gamecocks. Is this indoor or outdoor?
Let's see here.
99.
It's like NCAA championship.
That might have been outdoors, possibly.
I think that one's outdoors.
Outdoors.
We're gonna go ahead and get into that clip real quick and check it out, and then we'll go ahead and break it down once we come back. All right.
Cool.
All right. Cool.
Welcome back to the 1999 NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships in the second event on this final day. The men's 110-meter hurdles. Collegiate record held by Ronaldo Nehemiah. The collegiate leader this season, Terrence Trammell of South Carolina, with a time of 13.29. He will run in lane 5.
And Vern, just a sophomore, he was the runner-up last year as a freshman. He's also entered in the men's 100 meters. No athlete at the NCAA level has won both the hurdles and the 100 in the same meet.
William Arce of USC will run in lane 1. Adrian Woodley of Syracuse in 2. Ron Bramlett of Middle Tennessee State in 3. Dwayne Wallace of Tennessee has finished 4th to Trammell 4 times in head-to-head competition. Greg Richardson of Central Michigan, Aubrey Herring of Indiana State, and Chris Allen of Texas A&M.
You know, Vern, I think the biggest thing about Terrence Trammell is where he is training. He's training under Curtis Fry. He trains with Alan Johnson, who's the Olympic and world champion. When you have someone to train with like that every single day, it really, really raises your level. And not only that, I think he has a lot more experience. When you're training with the best in the world, how do any of these other guys look like they're that tough to beat, you know? When you've got someone else schooling you all the time.
And when you see him run, he runs so much like Alan Johnson. He's just a little bit taller, but he looks amazingly technically like Alan.
You know, the other day when we saw him in the semifinal, we looked at each other and said, oh my gosh, he looks exactly like Alan Johnson.
Trammell not the first out the blocks, but now he quickly picks up speed. And it's Dwayne Wallace running in second. Terrence Trammell of South Carolina wins it with Wallace second, and Greg Richardson is third.
Terrence Trammell hit 5 hurdles in that race, including the first 3 hurdles. You know what? He's got a great head on his shoulders because he was able, as you can look at him, he's going, oh my goodness. He was able to keep himself together and still win that race. And in fact, one of the key hurdles, which is about, hurdle 6 or 7, he really threw him off balance, but he was able to regather himself and win the race.
And Vern, you mentioned he did not get the best start in the field, but one thing that, as you mentioned, Carol, his focus was so good. He smashed the first 3 hurdles and was really in jeopardy of being thrown completely out of his rhythm and even being able to finish the race. Look, he just hammers hurdle number 3. Then 4 is clean, but he hits 5 with his trail leg. But he's got such a good head on his shoulders, and he's watched Alan Johnson have races like this. He's almost fallen 3 times in this race, but he is so much better than everyone else in this field that no one can make up the gap. No one can take advantage. You can win them pretty, or you can win them ugly, but a win is a win.
Well, he wins it, but it was painful to watch. Terrence Trammell captures first place. Dwayne Wallace of Tennessee is second. And Greg Richardson of Central Michigan captures third. And here's Michelle with the winner.
All right, Vern, 1 down, 1 to go. You've just won the hurdles. Next up is the 100. No one has ever won both at this meet. What makes you confident you'll be the first?
I just carry God with me, try to do the best I can through the whole way. It's been a long week. Have one more race, and I think I can pull it through.
Good luck. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Vern, back up to you.
Terrence Trammell wins the first of the 2 events in which he is entered.
Yeah, man, that was kind of hard to watch. You know, for me, being so much of a technician, and you know, like I said in the interview. Like I said in the interview, you know, that was a lot of races because at that time, the NCAA championships, you had 3 rounds of every race. So I had 3 rounds of the 100, 3 rounds of the hurdles, and 2 rounds of the 4x1, 2 or 3. And by the time I got to that race, I think that was race like number 7 in like 3 days. And so I was a little bit warped, but you could see the disappointment, even though I won, and that was my first outdoor NCAA title. But the way I ran it, I wasn't pleased with. You know, I wanted because you know there's a certain way that I want to compete when the lights are on, and I did win, but I felt like I didn't execute like I should have, and so. Grateful for the win, but just kind of disappointed in the performance.
No problem. We got some more in the Olympics, I think, in this one. Not sure if this is 2000 Olympics or 2004, but we can go ahead and check this one out, and then we can buy this before we.
Okay.
Let me play it. Is it playing when you got? There it is.
Terrence Trammell, really the man in this event by a long way. You'd have to have a real blow-up in this competition. He'll start in lane 5 in the center of the track, just a junior, and he wants to try and win with as little effort expended because he has to come back and run the 100. He won both the 60-meter hurdles and 60-meter sprint at the indoor NCAAs.
And DeMarcus Brown from Arkansas. A lot of pressure on this young man. You know, he finished 5th at the SEC in this competition. So he has competed against Trammell. He's competed against some of the other outstanding athletes in this competition. He knows that he needs to get some big points for Arkansas to get him off to a good start today.
Here are the rest of the lane assignments. Chris Allen of Texas A&M in lane 1, Adrian Woodley of Syracuse in lane 2, Ron Bramlett of Alabama in lane 3, Todd Matthews of Clemson in lane 6, Kenneth Fambro of Alabama in lane 7, and Aubrey Herring, we should point out of Indiana State, a senior, finished 6th last year, ran a 13.54 personal best to win in his semifinal race. So we'll keep an eye on the middle of the track in this competition. Herring in lane 4, Trammell in lane 5, DeMarcus Brown on the outside in lane 8. Trammell out to a good start in lane 5. He has the power to withstand knocking down some hurdles. He's getting some stiff competition from Herring in lane 4. Trammell and Herring, lane 4 and 5, and it's Terrence Trammell.
You know what, Dwight? Terrence Trammell looked like he came out of the blocks and he said, I'm going to make this an easy one because I've got that 100 meters to come up. And he took a look to his left-hand side and he said, oh, dear, I'm in 2nd position. And he really started to press in the middle of that race and had a tough one.
I've got to tell you, Carol, he looks so much like Alan Johnson, the way his technique works. But when he found in the middle of the race that Aubrey Herring was right there with him, stride for stride, he had to go into panic mode, started hitting hurdles, and he's strong enough and he has enough sense of where he is that he was able to knock those hurdles down and still get in a position to get off the last hurdle first. He got out very nicely, but inside, Chris Allen, Texas A&M, was really out well in lane 1 and lane 2. Adrian Woodley of Syracuse actually had the best starts in the field, but Aubrey Herring was really first over the first hurdle, and at this point, Trammell has to be going, uh-oh, game plan, I got to go to game plan B, and then you can see, Carol, he starts hitting those hurdles.
But as we mentioned, though, Carol, he's got the strength, and you see that here as he fights through the hurdle.
He does have the strength, and right there, he also stays in focus. And the reason he did win that race is because he came off the last hurdle, and he ran hard for the line.
Well, you can understand why Lou Holtz would love by only 6/100ths of a second over Aubrey Herring of Indiana State. Todd Matthews of Clemson finished 3rd. By the way, we should make note, in the men's 1.
All right, yeah. So we couldn't hit a volume on that one, but that particular run, you know, Aubrey Herring got out on me really well, and my biggest thing was just keeping my composure because I knew that at that point in time I was really strong at the end of my races, and if I just stayed focused on what I was doing and not panic, I knew that I would catch him. You know, I could catch him by like hurdle number 8. So that's actually what wound up happening. There's a certain thing when people are ahead of you and they're normally not ahead of you and they start to panic even though they're winning. I figured that was going to kind of be the case. And so I just wanted to make sure I didn't panic and really just do my best to surge, you know, around hurdle number 8, when I knew I could make that move and carry it on through to the finish line. So I was a little more pleased with that run, even though, you know, you see a little damage, you know, at some point in the races, but you know, that was happening at that time. And believe it or not, I was still finding my way with my technique, you know, with my hurdle mechanics. They were pretty good. They were sharp, but at the same time, you know, hurdling is an event that it takes years to really get your bearings down. So, you know, I was still finding my way, even though, you know, I was having some success at that juncture.
Cool. This next clip is the Olympics for sure. I know you dominated the NCAA, the SEC, school, just carried the torch all the way up until 2000, graduated straight from college and went straight to the Olympics. So let's go ahead and take a look at this last clip, and you can talk about that and your experience as being an Olympian. All right.
Cindy in Beijing.
Dexter Falk in lane 4, Jeffrey Porter at 5, David Oliver, the broad shoulder 1 and 6, Anton Hicks in 7, Jerome Miller in 8. If you had to pick an upset, Otto, who might be the one?
Only Oliver is capable of running down Terrence Trammell, but he gets out so well that it's probably likely that Oliver will run out of room. Terrence Trammell puts such immense pressure. See the time to beat there, 7:40 for the Visa lead.
It's a fair start. And Trammell in lane 3 begins already to pull away. Unbelievable. Terrence Trammell wins again.
7:41. Wow. The American record is 7:36. That gives you an indication of the quality of a race you just saw. This young man has been so dominant this year.
And he had this from the gun.
And his 5th indoor title came very easy. Terrence Trammell is 3rd from the right. Look at him pull away from the best hurdlers in the country. No one in the frame at the finish. He is starting and accelerating to that first hurdle so well, but then once he gets there, lead leg quickly up, quickly back down. Very little time in the air. And his reward is an almost personal best, 7.41 for Terrence Trammell, as next to him, Dexter Falk goes down.
And that puts Terrence Trammell in 2nd in the Visa Championship standings as we go down to Elizabeth.
All right. So a whole lot smooth on that run. Everything was mechanics, everything down smooth, not hitting the hurdles, just like you was talking about before. So go ahead and describe that for the people who run track and for the kids who want to know the technique-wise, how you improve. Go ahead and coach them on that real quick for us.
Yeah, so that clip and the last clip that you showed is literally 10 years apart. So that last NCAA clip you showed, I was a junior at South Carolina. I was 21. And that race that you saw just then, that was the U.S. Championships indoors in 2010, and I was 31. So at that time, my mechanics had really gotten better. I had really developed and really matured in my event, and just really honed in on a lot of the small things, on the particulars that it takes to be at that level. So that's what I did. And speed wise, I was still just as fast as I was at 31 as I was at 28, 29, so the speed really didn't drop off much at all. It's kind of like I said, it was kind of like how when Jordan reached a certain age and he stopped penetrating the lane for a dunk, and he would just get to a certain spot and have that little jump shot. I was at that age. I was at that stage now. So I had the wisdom and the knowledge of what to do when, but I still had the physical ability of a younger version of myself. But it was a lot wiser at that time. So that's what I did. And speaking of which, not wanting to jump too far ahead, about teaching the guy, teaching the athlete, that's actually what I do now. I teach coaches and I teach hurdlers about hurdling. And I actually have a course that's coming out that I have the PowerPoint for it, and I'm actually finishing up the video for it. And so anyway, for all the coaches out there that are looking to learn about the basics of hurdling, how to look for the right athlete to hurdle. If your athlete is stuck and don't really know how to run in between the hurdles or the start, or how many steps they should take, or if they're floating, if they're jumping hurdles instead of hurdling, because hurdling is not jumping, it's a long stride. And so if they are having any type of issues or anything like that, this course will answer all those questions. It will give some of the secrets that I learned to help me have a 15-year career and ultimately become a Hall of Famer. And so anyway, look for it. My app should be rolling out by the first of the year. Trammell Athletics. It'll be an app, and they can get my course, which is called the Hurdle Code. That will be on there, and so you'll see me demonstrating the drills. You'll see me doing the stretches, me doing the hurdle hops, all of that stuff. At 42 years old, because I was filming it last year, doing all of that stuff at that time. So, yeah, tap in. Let's get active. We want to make sure that we're able to get coaches and athletes the type of tools that they need just for better hurdling and that sort of thing in the U.S.
Yeah,
sir.
Yeah. Hey, any message for the youth?
The biggest thing that I'll say to the youth is, if you have a dream and you fully believe in yourself that you can accomplish it and you see yourself doing it, then start down that path. Because I ran track to prove somebody wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to hurdle. And here I am, a Hall of Famer in that event.
Dang.
So if you have a dream, and I knew I wanted to be good at something. I knew I wanted to be a pro at something. I saw it being football, but the Almighty upstairs had other plans. And so that's another thing. Understand that your talent is bigger than you. And if nothing else, make sure that you work on having great character, because your character will take you where your talent will leave you stranded. So those things are things that I would like to share for the youth. And that character goes with practice, it goes with drills, it goes with stretching, eating properly. I think Les Brown said, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so that's my new mantra. I live by that now. So you can't compartmentalize it. You have to put it all together, because it all comes back to your character. So that's what I would like to impart.
Man. No problem, man.
Good message.
Any shout outs for former coaches, teammates? I know you shout out Corey Bridges earlier. Anybody else you'd like to shout out? Any former Gamecock?
Yeah, my big bro Brandon Bennett, who hooked us up and got us going. My nephew Braden really kicking some butt over there at Coastal. I'm proud of him.
That's right.
I watch and brag on him all the time. Seeing him just like his dad, chip off the old block. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my high school coach Napoleon Cobb, my high school football coach Buck Godfrey. My teammates, Angelo Taylor, Arvin Richard, Kenneth Pass, Marquez, Benton, Clint Crenshaw, all of those guys that were a part of that national championship track team in high school. And, Nat Page was my coach towards the end over there at Georgia Tech. I actually spent most of my professional career with Nat Page. I competed for 15 years on the circuit. I spent 7 of those years with him. So we got a chance to do some really, really good things together. And I thoroughly enjoyed learning and working on systems and plans and techniques under Nat Page. Also, Paul Doyle, who I ran my first my second 13-0 under Paul Doyle. So and I actually won the world championships in the 60-meter hurdles and got bronze in the 60-meter dash under Paul Doyle. So a little bit of history was made, under him. So shout out to those guys. Shout out to all my friends and family, all over. Shout out to the fans, everybody that's supporting it. And don't forget to tap in to the Trammell Athletics app. You can follow me on Trammell Athletics on YouTube. Also, Twitter, I'm at Trammell Athletics. Instagram, I'm at Trammell Athletics, and I'm at Terrence _ Trammell OLY.
Yep, there you go.
What's up,
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you stopping by, man. It's nothing like having an Olympian in the house tonight. Two-sport athlete, All-American, you name it. You check all the boxes. Highly decorated, humble guy from Southwest DeKalb High School. Just let everybody know, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. You got to commit to something in life and put your all into it. And hopefully if you do that with the good Lord, you can manifest anything in your life, man.
Anything is
all right?
possible.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
So I appreciate you guys, man, coming on the show and helping us out. Hey, until the next time, you guys stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Spotify, and Deezer, and we'll see you next time, all right? It's not how you start, it's how you what, KJ?
Oh, you already know, man.
It's how you finish.
How you finish.
All right. That's the finisher right there, Terrence Trammell.
Yeah, man.
See you guys later. Full flat.
Oh, yeah.
Be out.
Thanks for coming on, man. Mean a lot.
Appreciate it, bro.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yep.
No problem. We'd love to have you back on.
Cool, no problem. And then we can talk about how I can help guys run 4.0, 4.1 when I get back. So yeah.
Yes, sir.
Dude, I'm trying to get
all right now. Y'all take care, man. Enjoy the rest of your week.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Be safe. Wear a mask.
Oh, yeah.